The next man will certainly be able to keep on dancing with the trainers he's got on. Colin Heard.
Sleep. I have a friend called John I wish could sleep more soundly. John worked in Subway when I met him, but now he's sleeping rough, or if not, then just grabbing fast sleep on a friend's sofa or in one of those B&Bs for people with nowhere to go to sleep. He's had a hard time, but he's so vague about it, I find it difficult to get to the bottom of why. Except it's his father and it's his grandmother's fault. They're so good at hating him, they could hate him in their sleep. At Subway, John was on a 0 hours contract. He didn't get 0 hours, of course, but he got so few that they amounted to zero money. He was going for an interview at QuickFit, which is what he wants to do. Shortly after we met, he told me he had a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. We were in my car at the time, giving him a lift to Cameron Toll. It was the Wimbledon final, I think, and that he was very hard-working and couldn't sit still. He was living with his grandmother at this juncture, which wasn't perfect, but he had somewhere to sleep. Not that he needed much sleep. If you're asleep, you might as well be dead, but whatever. John could rest his head. John could rest his head in his grandmother's house when he needed to, and because at certain points in certain cycles he was asleep, he wasn't dead. The story, as I understand it, is that John was maybe given money that he was meant to use to pay the council tax, but that he in fact used to get tickets for Reading and Leeds, which led to him being kicked out of the only place he had to sleep. Which, if it was a short-term arrangement, wouldn't cause that many problems, because he's a likeable guy and makes friends easily, hence we're friends. And I think he made arrangement to sleep on friends' floors for a few weeks or months, rotating them so as not to over-irritate. My car at that time, the time of the lift Cameron Toll, had an awful damp smell that I was embarrassed about. There's something wrong with the seals on the doors, and so when it rains it leaks, and you get little forests of snowy, mushroomy mold on the carpets. You hear of these people who sleep every night in their cars. I've slept in my car once or twice, and once recently I was in my car getting 2 or 3 hours sleep when there were a few raps on the window which woke me obviously from my asleep state, and it was a police officer, and I was like, oh hello. No, I wish I had been like that, but I wasn't, and anyway he said, have you been asleep? And I groggily nodded and said something affirmatively, virtually still sleeping, and he said, why? And I said, oh, I had some trouble at home and wanted some air and I needed some sleep. And he took my number plate and began to radio it in when his superior came over, and she said, it's okay, everybody sleeps, no need to radio it in, but your lights were on. Have you been drinking? Yes, I said, I had been drinking, but I hadn't been driving. I had just returned to my car, which was parked here from earlier, as I had been meeting up with some friends. Okay, she said, we're going to leave it at that, but we could do you for having on the ignition, so please don't let me drive back around here and find you sleeping in half an hour. I won't, I said. I don't think I could get back to sleep even if I wanted to. I'll walk home, maybe get the bus, but I doubt I'll sleep. Thank you, seriously, I appreciate it. A few weeks ago, the last time I met up with John after he said he'd had to have a couple of outdoor sleeps, he had just got a place in a B&B and needed to buy new bedding because the stuff there was all pockmarked with cigarette burns and smelled awful. We met at Sainsbury's, which he called Tesco when giving me the instructions on where to meet, near Haymarket. I said he must have done it to put me off the scent, but he didn't really get what I meant and just said that he hadn't even realised it wasn't Tesco, even as he stood outside it, half asleep, these Hessian bags under his eyes that I really hope don't turn out to be bags for life. I tried to ask him seriously whether he'd made any improvements in the relationship with his family, but things he said were worse, if anything. He couldn't even get in touch with his mother now. It felt to him like everyone had abandoned him, as if they had all just woken up from an 18-year sleep, and it was back like he didn't exist anymore. I must have been half asleep myself because I asked him about Subway, as if it would be vaguely possible to keep up even a 0 hours contract while sleeping rough, sleep the last of his worries, to be honest, washing and cleaning clothes and eating and maintaining a sort of regular appearance more important at the minute. He seemed like he was trying not to sink into accidentally becoming something that he didn't feel he was. I have to say it was heartbreaking and difficult to see him. I need to get in touch with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. That was fantastic. Cheers.